How cool was that?
You loved stuff like that. Look at you. Look at your little face.
I was really shocked. How did you do that? Space for it. I've got to go to space.
Space magic.
I need to get myself in space to have a little go. Anyway, speaking of water, make sure you're around for part 2 of the programme to see Dan Bancroft in his swimming trunks.
Right, you may have noticed, you may have noticed that we are joined on the sofa by some very cute guests this evening. They've been brought along by Action for Greyhounds. I'm so excited.
Yes, they're a non-profit organisation dedicated to the protection and welfare of the popular breed. And Annie from Action for Greyhounds joins us now. Hi Annie, welcome to the show and welcome to your array of greyhounds you've got with us today. Just tell us who's who we've got here.
This is Zen, he came from Ireland. Lacey was given away on the internet. Itzy comes from Ireland and Vinny came from Ireland with his sister who got homed.
There's a reason why Ireland is cropping up a lot, isn't there, with kind of the greyhound breeding. Okay. So talk us through why do we have so many that need homes and what is going on with greyhounds?
Well, most of the greyhounds are bred in Ireland. They're subsidised by the government. They're like legalised puppy farms, like livestock, and about 80% of greyhounds that are running on British tracks have been bred and come over from Ireland. That does leave quite a lot of greyhounds that are not going to be wanted by the British or the Irish racing industry, and unfortunately a lot, if they don't make the grade, they don't end up on comfy sofas.
And there's all sorts of things as well, injuries as well, short careers, like any elite athletes. You know, I'd like to class myself.
Sure.
And these greyhounds, you know, I've got an injury which finished my career early. These guys are the same. They have a very short career. You're telling about maybe a year or so, and then all of a sudden they live to the age of 14. So these guys need homes.
Unlike human athletes, the greyhound don't get a choice whether it runs on a track or not. Unfortunately, that's the humans that make that choice, whether they race or whether they don't, and they grade them. If they're not fast enough, they don't make it. Sadly, not all greyhounds make it off the racetrack either, because the track has been designed oval configurated. It's very dangerous for 6 greyhounds to compete on. And it's inevitable that they are going to get injured. Most of the injuries end up on the first bend because the straight's running up to a tight bend, and some of the injuries are fatal. Even the injuries that are not fatal, like a broken hock or a broken foot, some greyhounds are destroyed on economic grounds because the greyhound that's not running is not making money.
So it's not, for you, it's not just about rehoming them when they're done on the track, it's about stopping racing altogether as much as possible. You're not the only organisation. You were saying this is kind of a global operation.
Yeah, it is now, and due to social media it's so much easier to get this information across worldwide with petitions and any sort of awareness that's shared off Facebook, and so that's a big help.
They're so lovely.
Yeah,
they're the most docile creatures, and they make lovely pets.
Yeah, I think there's an assumption, isn't it? Because they chase a rabbit, essentially, or pretend rabbit, that people think they may be a little bit vicious. They see them in their muzzles.
Yeah,
but they're not.
that's
They make
right.
wonderful pets. With children as well.
There is a bit of a misconception when you see them in a betting shop window with a muzzle on and their teeth showing, but I also don't like the word 40-mile-an-hour couch potato, because you know, when they're in racing kennels, a lot of them do spend possibly 23 hours in a kennel. They get let out twice a day for cleaning them out. Some of them are kennelled together. Sometimes they're muzzled when they're kennelled, and it's no life for any animal really. But you know, sadly, when they come out of racing, some of them are very shut down. Like Itzy was very shut down, and luckily Zen brought her out of her shell. She bonded with him and he taught her the ropes. Lacey is pretty often quite a scatty dog for a greyhound. She's not a typical quiet gentle greyhound.
She's my favourite. I love her colour.
She's had 2 good walks today since 5 o'clock this morning. So
if people are interested in rehoming a greyhound, how can they get in touch? How can they do it?
Well, we personally are quite fussy who fosters and adopts our greyhounds and lurchers, and we do prefer that people have experience with a sight hound. You know, you can't just go on a farmer's field and let them off, because they are capable of reaching up to 40 miles an hour at a short sprint, and you have to make sure there's no ruts or hazards where you let them off, so you have to be careful with that. Special diet, they have to have quite a low protein diet when they're not running. When they're racing, they have a high protein diet, which is not really beneficial.
All of this info is on your website.
Yeah.
And if people didn't want to adopt necessarily, are there other ways they can help?
Yeah, people foster, they take our dogs into their homes and treat them as their own family pets, and that's a good way of getting them used to everything, getting them socialised. We quite often have homed them with cats and small dogs and other breeds, but they do prefer the company of gentle, quiet, mature dogs rather than scatty, boisterous dogs. They do get on well with other greyhounds and lurchers, which are greyhound crossbreeds, because they're used to their own kind. They quite often, when they're racing, they perhaps won't ever see another dog but another greyhound. So, you know, when they come out, you have to do a lot of very careful socialisation, but it's worth it. The patience, and you know, they're just a joy to have, really.
Well, I think they've been a perfect advert for rehoming today, and you can see how placid they are. And even our producers in the background stroking them whilst we're on air at the moment.
Loving it.
They all love them. So, Annie, thank you so much
for bringing them in. It's been a great start.
It has, lovely.
Cheers. Now, Dan Bancroft quite fancies himself.
No, stop there. Just stop there.
As a keen sportsman.
Oh, okay.
He thinks he's the sort of person that could pick up anything, and maybe anyone, I would say as well, given the right instruction.
So, meeting Norfolk's own world record holder in competitive archery was an opportunity he was keen not to miss.